One of my favorite pop culture references goes to the Departed. You know, half the guys on the force just want to bang a ninja's head through a car window. It's tragically true for a lot of law enforcement. Not all law enforcement is ready to show up for a Klan meeting and throw on a red band with a T on it, but too many are.
And too many are on steroids. There was a cop right here in Union Square who told some random guy driving down the street who took a wrong turn, I'll put a hole in your head.
Yeah.
And he pointed a gun at him. He's like, I'll put a hole in your head.
I think I'm excited for how fortunate we are here in Boston. We have compulsory and randomized drug testing. We have that because we have a historical issue with opioids and narcotics use from our law enforcement.
Do they test for steroids, though?
They do not test for steroids. They do test for the other stuff. And I do think that they should be testing for any mood-altering, nootropic, any supplement.
Yeah.
There's just been way too many episodes of off-duty law enforcement committing domestic acts of violence, and it terrifies me to think about what they're doing on the streets.
So how can we change that?
In Massachusetts, the sheriffs get voted on by the citizens, and so any community that you live in where the police are mistreating citizens, and you as a citizen write down a record of that happening, when that sheriff comes up for re-election, you can be like, okay, well, under this sheriff,
that's just the sheriff, though. That's just the sheriff.
The sheriff can hire and fire the police officers. So, you put, Mike Connolly in as sheriff, or some Mike Connolly version of a sheriff, and they can hire and fire police officers who are going to follow the issues that kind of politician would support, as opposed to the sheriff in Malden, who is very tough on Oxy, which is good, but also they're very tough on just, kind of.
They're tough on Oxy, so are they going after the big pharma, or are they like going after the poor people that are just been like pretty much, that's a whole other issue, the whole like big pharma that got everyone addicted to drugs, and now they just want to pull everything out from under them, This whole war on drugs is a war on people, and that's pretty clear, and if we don't already know that, then
they've
wake up.
They've been rolling back all our cannabis initiatives that we
Of course, yeah, Mike Crawford was on the show last week. It's a Jason Lewis, I believe his name is. Maybe, Jerry Jason Lewis out of Winchester, Massachusetts. And that's, these people are clearly, we vote unanimously on whatever we vote on. And they want to come in, this small little group of politicians, and they want to stifle our growth. That is screwing with that is toying with our democratic process, and that's not right.
And so we can lobby against these things, although the information isn't really out there about how to do so.
That's a really good point.
But one of the ways is with state delegates.
Okay.
So the Democrats and the Republicans in each state, like they did nationwide, they hash out a platform every 2 years, where they decide what issues they're going to push for in the next 2 years, whether it's more sane police, et cetera. Support the ballot initiative, and representatives from every district in every town get elected, who then go to the state house and vote on what those issues are going to be. But funny, they don't inform the citizens where those elections are going to be, and it's almost a secret. Like 25 people in every town end up voting, because only they know about the delegate elections.
Interesting.
I've been trying to figure out when they are for each different town, because they're different in every town.
Okay.
In Massachusetts, we found ours in Malden. It's on the 11th.
You know, we're being faced with some pretty ridiculous issues and have been for hundreds of years. Well, it's just our turn now to take it on, see if we can.
Because government's not just going to fix itself the way we want it to. We have to fix it.
Right.
We have to get it, you know, roll up our sleeves.
The whole idea of self-governance.
Mm-hmm. On January 24th of 2017, the House passed H.R. 7, the No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion and Abortion Insurance Full Disclosure Act of 2017. As noted, federal law already prohibits taxpayer money from being used for abortion services. This legislation takes away tax credits from small businesses offering private insurance to their employees that their insurance provides coverage for abortion services.
Well, even it turns out the Republicans that were trying to repeal the ACA, even they didn't really have a plan about what to do, it turns out, even though they've spent the past 8 years trying to get it repealed. There's 3 Republican plans and 3 Democrat plans about what to do. The 3 Republican plans, no Republican likes. They're extremely unpopular. Yeah. They'll take away everybody's health care, and nobody except politicians and lobbyists like them. And there's going to be a debate about it between Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders next week. On CNN. It's going to be a bloodbath. And
not go well for Mr. Cruz.
Yeah, because when people say repeal and replace, well, Bernie's going to be like, well, okay, let's repeal and replace with single payer. And, you know, that's the only thing that seems to be popular among the citizens at all. Either, you know, keep it the same with some vague improvement, or single payer. So let's do single payer.
Just makes sense.
But it has to have protections for abortion and women's rights in there. It's ridiculous what they're doing.
Yeah. I want to ask you, too, how, Ray, in your opinion on this. So here we are, America. We're importing fish and vegetables and everything else from all over the world, right? Mm. But we can't import prescription drugs from Canada that'll decrease the payment, the amount of money that people are spending on drugs. What's your take on that?
There are a couple reasons why it folded. And a lot of us on the left got really, really rankled with Cory Booker's vote against it, calling it, you know, pay for play or whatever aspersion we could cast on him for going the direction of the drug manufacturers that are legitimately his constituency in New Jersey. And the plan that he did put forward as an amendment offered for price negotiations in addition to being able to purchase the drugs that we sell to Canada and then would re-import at a lower rate because we don't negotiate for our drug prices. To my understanding, that is why some Senate Democrats voted against this Sanders-supported bill.
So his amendment failed, so he was like, oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it out on all Americans. And
yeah.
I think he took a bribe, and that's the real reason. Senator Warren voted for it. Senator Markey voted for it.
I think he was running with his constituency harder.
He says the drug companies are his constituents. What's up with that?
Because
since when are companies constituents?
And that goes down to the fundamental perspective on who you think a citizen is. You think of corporations as citizen, and you, Cory Booker, thinks a corporation is a citizen,
like
and the people
right?
people very clearly don't agree. And while it's legally codified that they can skate on the 14th Amendment, which is vulgar to begin with, the 14th Amendment is what legitimized free former black slaves to being American citizens. It's what gives us our birthright citizenship. And a couple clever lawyers decided that would be a really, really great way to have this immortal institution that also has all the rights of a citizen. It's vulgar. But, yeah, I mean, bribe, campaign donations, all the same thing under Citizens United, right?
Yeah.
On January 25th, 2017, President Trump signed an executive order denying federal grant funding to sanctuary cities who do not comply with requests to hold undocumented immigrants for deportation.
That's us, Somerville.
That's Somerville, because we are a sanctuary city. And recently I just saw Trump's administration commenting on the Green Line, how they're looking forward to seeing the Green Line go through. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Joe Curtatone thinks about that. Like, is that some way of sort of holding the dangling the money, the federal money over Somerville to maybe interrupt the resistance? Because clearly there's resistance, not only in Boston and Somerville, but I mean in Massachusetts in general. They're like, everyone's been pretty vocal about protecting its citizens from this.
So he's like, oh, I'll give you money for the Green Line if you round people up and put them in concentration
camps. I'm wondering how much federal money the state of Massachusetts gets in general. Do you know?
Off the top of my head, no. But they have a federal mandate to fund Medicare and Medicaid, which is generally the largest portion of every state's budget. So what we can interpret the Trump threat to mean, or the Bannon threat to mean, when it comes to holding sanctuary cities to task, is very similar to the change in policy that Reagan shifted from major cities to their state capitals in terms of federal aid to urban development and urban housing, all of the housing projects throughout the Metro Boston area. They're in some way supported by federal funds. So his threat to mess with that financing stream faces more legal obstacles than did the 7-country ban that they just kind of erased Obama's name off of it from an Arab Spring era policy and slapped Trump's name on it.
And just for those tuning in, so the 7 countries are Iraq, Iran, Syria, Libya, Sudan, Yemen, and Somalia. So you know. Mm-hmm. And basically, on January 27th, President Trump signed executive order suspending the Syrian refugee program and blocking people from those countries. And it resulted in chaos all over.
I have a friend that just barely got his citizenship, and he's from Sudan. And I have to go and thank him today. It'd be like, I'm so glad you got your citizenship. Yeah. Because he'd be back in Sudan, and they're having genocides right now.
Yeah.
And to get back on the federal funding, I mean, we're getting federal funding, but some of the federal money that's coming in isn't going toward really great stuff. I mean, just to touch down on Department of Children and Family, they're getting about $834 million from the federal government to essentially kidnap children and hold them captive for 6 to 7 months before sometimes they're never reunited with their family, sometimes they're always held in captivity. Yeah, so basically, I'd like to see Massachusetts become completely sustainable. I'd love to see Massachusetts team up with New Hampshire, Vermont, and New York and New Jersey and Maine, and just become like a sustainable section of the country without federal funding, because I feel like federal funding is poisonous.
It's interesting. Well, the New England contributes more to the federal government as far as revenue than we take. Where Dixieland, the places that keep sending these terrible representatives to our Congress and our legislature, the ones that got overrun by the Tea Party, again, people who are wholly incompetent and incapable of governing, they take more money from the federal budget in terms of state and local aid than do New England, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, Washington, Oregon. Minnesota kind of rides the line. Wisconsin kind of rides the line. It's quickly becoming the case that they're collecting more than they're giving because, again, Tea Partiers are incapable of governing. But yeah, you look at a state like North Carolina that took a hatchet to its budget before they sent that moron out on a rail, and the guy broke all of his toys before leaving office. He smashed all of the governor's purview of setting budgets for education, setting budgets for health and human services, for housing and urban development in North Carolina. This guy's a complete joker. The new guy is trying to figure it out, but has logjam in their state legislature. But yeah, these are parts of the country that take more than they give and then complain, turn around immediately and complain about people who are mooching. Well, hey, Dixieland, stop mooching.
Yeah. Corporations, same deal.
Same
They're
deal.
the ones mooching.
Same deal.
Mm-hmm.
But they lobby against it. And the poor people are mooching when they get, their $20 in food stamps and not but the billions of dollars that GE gets in tax cuts to move to Massachusetts.
SNAP is really interesting here in Massachusetts. You can use SNAP at farmers markets.
Mm-hmm.
And at least for here, it's really effective at promoting healthy diets, because if you promote public nutrition, you are reducing the threat and risk associated with public health, which drives down what we end up spending on longitudinal care. Fewer people on diabetes means that massively expensive treatment is no longer part of your budget. It's you're talking about sustainability. Well,
food is medicine.
One informs the other.
Yeah. So as far as partners, so the U.S. needs partners.
Mm.
Without partners, our military is at risk and our country is at risk. When we undermine the very principles and norms that we're trying to get the rest of the world to adopt, we make this world and our country less safe. Mm-hmm. These may seem like abstract principles, but how they play out in the real world has serious consequences, both for us and all the people of the world. While hard power, military and economic power, is important, it is the outsourcing of our culture that affords the U.S. such a prominent position in international affairs. These types of policies eliminate that cultural power, and that is also dangerous. And these policies, by these policies, I mean these executive orders that Trump is putting through. So, I wanted to touch on something that you reminded me of earlier, that in 1954 they cut civics and just renamed it social studies. I mean, it comes down to education. All of these young kids that are behind us coming up into this time, they're all, my nephew's one of them. He's 11 years old, and he's, he lost his mother to fentanyl, to opioid. He's one of many that probably have lost their parents to this terrible, terrible epidemic that is the opioid epidemic. But it's not opiates. It's opiates, but it's like fentanyl. It's bad stuff being mixed in with not only opiates, it's being mixed into ketamine and cocaine and you name it. Just don't do drugs, okay? Because you'll likely fucking die these days is what's happening. But so he's playing, he's 11 years old, and I don't agree to this, but he's playing Call of Duty. And I think about all these like violent video games that these young children are playing. It almost seems to me like they're being prepared for war. They're being like almost
farmed
like
to
farm
get
teams.
Yeah,
For the military. Yeah. What's up with that?
Well, and cop shows brainwash people for a police state.
Yeah.
Our media has been full of this, stuff letting us think that, hyper-capitalism is normal pretty much all our lives as we grew up. And it's only now that some of the citizen media is starting to get out there. People like you and me and Ray are able to, educate ourselves and educate other people a little bit about the civics that we've been so sorely lacking, so that people don't know every single kind of Pepsi and every Kardashian instead of, who's the representative in their town and how they can vote. It's up to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, we've got about 15 minutes. Is there anything else we want to touch on? I think, like, to wrap it up, we could probably, like, talk about, I mean, you know, what can everyone do right now? Get on with the ACLU? What organizations are you promoting? What organizations are you really backing right now?
You mentioned the ACLU. I'm a member of the ACLU. Good. I'm going to a volunteer training on the 24th of this month. I'm really excited to start getting my hands dirty and, you know, putting my money where my mouth is. I was no blood for oil kid as an undergrad and organized through the immediate years after graduation. Back to the Bush days, ladies and gentlemen. Mm-hmm. Roll up your sleeves, let's get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ACLU is doing really beautiful work. There's also, I like Our Revolution, Justice Democrats.
Yes, Justice Democrats.
Daily Toast,
the
Young Turks, and Democracy Now, the NAACP, and definitely if people know people that live in Malden, they should come vote for me.
Yes, talk a little bit about that.
February 11th.
Yes.
We're having delegate elections at the Irish American Club in Malden, 177 West Street, February 11th at 9 a.m. And if you're a Somerville resident, you can't vote, but if you know somebody in Malden, please come and vote for me. I'm pushing all of Bernie's issues, trying to make sure that they're on the state party platform so we actually get them enacted into Massachusetts law, please.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. That's great. Thank you for doing that and going forward. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you both. And everyone at home that's tuning in, thank you for the hard work that you're putting in. And
if you have an extra dollar, send it to Fallon, Lee O'Brien, or Ray Carre.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you know what? If you have an extra dollar, put it in a tin, save it, put it under your mattress, and put $1 under your mattress every month if you want. And at the end of the month, you know, we could let you know where you might be able to put those dollars. Right now, more than ever, my heart goes out to the Standing Rock community because they have not only been, they've been just experiencing a series of attacks over the last several months, but recently with the executive order that Trump put through to reopen negotiations and restructuring of the pipeline, they've been attacked really, really hard. We're talking like people have lost eyes, fingers. I mean, it's like a really terrible situation. It's the government has taken control of that county, of Morton County, is right now under basically government control.
Yeah, they have like an emergency. They suspended the government with a state of emergency.
Yeah. So that's the federal government coming in now.
Yeah.
If you have an extra dollar, give to the Sacred Stone Legal Defense Fund.
Yes.
What law enforcement is doing out there right now is, I want to say that it's unique in history, but it calls back to the times where they would snatch up drunk First Nations people, throw them in prisons, collect their children, send them through Christian re-education schools and put First Nations women in seamstress or sanitariums. It's disgusting. The snatch and grabs that are going on right now in North Dakota are clear and ostensible violations of the Bill of Rights that are afforded to First Nations people just because they throw their citizenship into their First Nation community. They are still protected by the Constitution. Law enforcement is hiding their badges, hiding their identities, grabbing people from their snowmobiles and incarcerating them and running them back to Bismarck. It is disgusting. They are dousing people in the middle of the freezing night with ice cold water. I mean, Christ, these are UN violations. They violated the Geneva Convention over the summer by incarcerating children in dog kennels. This is a humanitarian crisis that has only been distracted by 45's skullduggery and nonsense. I realize that it's a lot to take in, but what you can do, any one of us can do, is throw support, energy, and focus on what's going on and saying, I still see you.
Yeah, because, I mean, just as they're water protectors, we all should know where our water's coming from. And, I mean, one thing I want to touch on before we leave tonight is how opposed I am to privatization. I believe it is one of the worst things that can happen. And it seems as though that's what Trump's administration is trying to put through. We see it here now with, I mean, and what reminds me of that is the privatization of water. The bottled water industry is like, don't worry about your water sources and rivers and lakes being tainted. We got bottled water for you. There's no, you can depend upon us, you know, so they're making it so that these people are dependent upon them, just as like we are here with like Massachusetts Bay, like the MBTA. They want to privatize that. That's taking a public asset, just like, that's taking a public asset and privatizing it, which will likely decrease the level of accountability, you know, and likely make it a lot less what, guys?
Democratic.
Democratic. Thank you. Democratic. That's it. So no to privatization, and
Keep paying attention.
keep paying attention.
So,
No, you're still on.
so
Yeah.
some senator asked Rex Tillerson yesterday before it was confirmed. He was like, so the U.S. government told you not to sell oil in Iraq while we were at war there, and you did it anyway. What's your reasoning behind that? And he was like, well, it made money. It wasn't against the law. What's wrong with it? If it's not against the law, that means it's moral, right? And that's the same thing that would happen if we privatized the MBTA. There, you know, if it's not against the law for us to charge $15 a ticket, and you know, not allow sick people on, and you know, get rid of wheelchair ramps.
Yeah.
It makes more money, then it's better, right? And they want to do that to every industry in the U.S., just like they did in Pinochet's Chile when the fascists took over there, and we're all doomed.
Well, then, you know what? This is this is my big thing. Let us begin to meld ethics and economics, because right now they are so divided, and it's very clear. Right? I mean, there's no ethics in economics. The economist sees, how can I make more? You know, that's all. It's
really simple economics. You want to see a really easy exercise in living your values. Your bank card should say credit union on it. Shouldn't say Bank of America on it.
Yes. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. It has been a wonderful hour and a half sitting here with you both.
Thank you, America. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you,
sure.
Colin.
Thank you so
very
much. And thank you, folks, for tuning in. This won't be the last time you see the two of them on the show. I plan to have them on more and more. I think what's most important right now is consistency. We're being hit with so much information all at once that what we may have learned about a week ago dissolves because we're hit with something new. Let us not let that dissolve. Let it act as a step hold to keep us getting higher and higher and higher, until what we might discover is enlightenment in the political system, because this system is flawed, and the philosophies that are being imposed upon us are flawed. And the system that is orchestrated by a group of intellectuals to give license to racism and bigotry and just everything, all of the bad stuff, greed, everything, it's not good. So let us tear down that infrastructure and start anew. And it might be scary. It's not going to be easy. But let us not back down.
Don't back down.
Okay? Don't back down. Keep going. This is not normal. Do not normalize.
None of this is normal.
None of this is normal. So much love to you. Keep on the good work. Feel free to email myself at fallonsdailytoast@gmail.com if you have any questions for these two, and I'll funnel it through. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Boom. Thank you.
Excellent.
All right.